Welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Thursday, June 5th. If you were just tuning in, we just finished previewing Game 1 of the NBA Finals between the Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. That game has tipped off 7-1 right now in favor of the Oklahoma City Thunder about 3 minutes into regulation. In this segment, we continue our talk about this NBA Finals. There are a lot of guys that can benefit hugely in their legacy from winning an NBA Finals, but there's a couple of them that stand head and shoulders above the rest. We'll break down each and every one here in just a second, but before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Thursday, June 5th. But like I was saying, we are going to get here into who benefits the most from these NBA Finals, a NBA Finals victory here. And we'll start off on the Pacers side of things. There's a couple guys that I have singled out here, and we'll go over who I think is probably the 2 or 3 guys that it helps the most. It's going to be starting off with maybe the more obvious one, Tyrese Halliburton here. He wins this Finals. The big question on my mind is he the greatest Pacer of all time for winning a Finals year? He's now led the Pacers to 2 straight Eastern Conference Finals. He's led them to a Finals appearance. If they are to win one, it would be their first ever championship. He has to go up against a lot of all-time greats, right? You got Paul George over there. Obviously, you've got a couple of other huge names over there that are a little bit higher up on the list, at least right now. But if he wins this series, does Tyrese Halliburton become the greatest Pacer to ever play in that historic franchise?
I think he could be 100%. I think what he has already done, going to 2 straight Eastern Conference Finals appearances, is honestly probably more than what Paul George ever did for the Pacers, and you could maybe say what Reggie Miller did. Even Reggie Miller did go to the finals, but I don't think he went back-to-back ECFs. I think if they managed to obviously get the first ever championship this year against the MVP in SGA and the Oklahoma City Thunder, I think he could easily be, talked about as the best Pacer of all time. Obviously winning your first championship is going to put you in that discussion. And I think if he manages to win Finals MVP and win the Finals, I think he 100% will be the greatest Pacer of all time. But you have to obviously win the Finals first to get that. I think if he manages to win the Finals here, I think he could easily be – he's already top 3 in my opinion. I think he already is a top 3 Pacer of all time just for what he's done already. But if he manages to win a final, I think he could easily be talked about as the greatest Pacer of all time.
Yeah, the way I look at this one, I don't know if I can put him above Reggie Miller, but when we're talking about Tyrese Halliburton and the effect that he would have in Indiana if he brought the Indiana Pacers their first NBA championship in franchise history, in a way, as great as it would be, I don't know if it can trump something like a Reggie Miller, a guy like a Reggie Miller, a guy that's renowned as one of the best scorers in NBA history that's done it for so long. I think he would be known as one of the fan favorites and obviously bringing their first championship. It would be similar. I'm a Celtics fan. The way I think about it, it would be similar to the way that Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce brought a championship to Boston for the first time in 30 years when they won in 2010. In a similar fashion to that, I think. So, absolutely, Tyrese Halliburton has a lot to gain from these finals. I think also another guy on the Pacers, Pascal Siakam, could get a bunch from it, winning his second NBA championship, just winning Eastern Conference Finals MVP. He could get a lot out of it, but yeah, I think he would be the second greatest Pacer of all time if he won it.
Yeah, and Pascal Siakam is that next guy. It would be a really tight race between Halliburton and Reggie Miller, like you said. I think there would be real long, hard discussions. If it ended today, I still side with you, even with a finals victory goes to Reggie Miller there. But you give it a couple more years, you make a couple more deep runs in the playoffs, there's a real chance that 5 years from now we have a new great pacer of all time in Tyrese Halliburton, especially if he just continues to improve and be a playoff riser like he has been. But you bring up Pascal Siakam. He has a chance here now for a second ring. Obviously won one as kind of that number 2-ish option on the Raptors with Kawhi Leonard back in 2019. He now gets his second ring. You talk about being the most valuable player in the Eastern Conference Finals. Does he lock himself in as a Hall of Famer with a second ring, a basketball Hall of Famer? Because that's the kind of stuff we're talking about with the career accomplishments of a Pascal Siakam if he wins yet another title this season.
Hall of Famer. That's a good one because obviously, winning a conference finals MVP is going to help you boost that legacy. 2 NBA championships, that's going to help. I think if he could manage to win finals MVP, I think that could definitely maybe boost his potential, but I don't think he will. I just don't think he doesn't have enough accolades for people to kind of understand how good of a player he really is. I think people kind of base a lot of like Hall of Fame inductees on accolades, and people who haven't really known they didn't really know how good he was on that 2019 Pacers team. He could be, he was the second option to Kawhi, maybe a third. Fred VanVleet can, flip flop, but I mean, he was so good. He was averaging in that playoff from, I believe, 20 points a game, averaging like a few assists and a few rebounds. I mean, he was a great player in that Raptors team, and people really, I mean, obviously he's in the shadow behind Kawhi Leonard, who had possibly one of the greatest, playoff runs of all time with that Raptors squad. But if he can somehow manage to win, Finals MVP, he has a closer chance. But like I said, I just don't think he will, just due to the fact that he doesn't have a lot of accolades, and he doesn't really like a standout guy. You're not gonna think all-time player for the Raptors and think Pascal Siakam. You're just not going to be like that. So he's a great player. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't think he will make the Hall of Fame, even if he manages to win the finals and finals MVP.
I really think, not to contradict what you just said, Nolan, but I really think Pascal Siakam was such an underrated player with that Raptors team. A lot of people, like at least for me, some people were saying he should have been the finals MVP of that series. Even though a lot of people, Kawhi Leonard, it's hard to discount Kawhi Leonard. But when you look at that addition that the Pacers made, bringing in Pascal Siakam 2 years ago, it was really sneaky. A lot of people said, oh, he's one of those guys that's just going to be one of those one-and-done guys. They're just bringing him in as just a one-year piece that they're going to move as a package deal. And he's really found a home with these Pacers. The way he gels with Tyrese Halliburton, the way he's keep taking some of that load off of Miles Turner, giving him more of that center position instead of putting him at that power forward spot that he doesn't like to be in. He's just been a great addition for these Pacers, and if he wins that second championship, he would be as a number 2 option. He could go down as one of the better number 2 options in NBA history. I think he really could. I'm not saying he's Scottie Pippen, but he's up there with one of those good guys, one of those greats out there as a number 2 option.
There's no doubt about it. He is one of the more underrated players in all of NBA history. That Raptors team was stacked. Oh my God. You still had a really good Kyle Lowry still kind of in his prime there. Fred VanVleet coming off the bench. I'm going to miss a bunch of people. OG Anunoby was hurt during that run too. If he was out there, that team would have been even better. That team was absolutely stacked, and Pascal Siakam still found a way to stand out in a lot of those ways. And he isn't like that super sexy number 2 option. He isn't your Scottie Pippen. He isn't your Dwayne Wade with LeBron James on the Heat. These guys that are, superstars in their own right? But he is a star, no doubt about it. And I think if he gets, I should say, this second NBA championship ring, it cements his legacy as a Hall of Famer. Now, How high of a number 2 option is he all time? I don't know if I would go as high as talking Scottie Pippen kind of area, but he's definitely up there, right? He gets to play kind of sidekick to Kawhi Leonard, prime Kawhi Leonard, and then to this incredible run with the Pacers. He's one of the few guys on that team that really can just win an iso ball, which is so huge because the Pacers, they play a lot of share the basketball, pass the rock, but when you need a bucket, they can draw up a play for Siakam, and he can make that happen. He can gain a lot. The last guy on the Pacers that I wanted to talk about, though, is the head coach, Rick Carlisle over here. This would be his second NBA championship, his first with the Pacers. He would be one of only 4 coaches in all of the NBA history to win an NBA championship in multiple different locations, joining some pretty amazing names. He's a guy that is, again, one of the more underrated coaches of all time. He has now been a part of, especially if the Pacers are able to finish this run off, 2 of the greatest runs in playoff history, if you include the one against LeBron when he was with the Mavericks and Dirk Nowitzki. He is the architect of some of the greatest playoff runs of all time. How much higher up on the all-time coaching ladder does a second ring for Carlisle push him up in this year's NBA Finals?
How high does he go? I'm not exactly sure, honestly. There's just too many, obviously he's not getting 1 or 2. Obviously. He'll maybe crack the top 15, maybe top 10. I mean, obviously, if he obviously the 2011 run, that is single-handedly the greatest playoff run of all time from any team. Having to go through obviously Kobe, OKC with KD, Harden, Westbrook, and then having to go through prime LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. I mean, with only really Dirk, and you had Jason Kidd there, but I mean, you didn't have you weren't. This ain't no super team. This ain't no big 3. This is just Dirk. You just give Dirk the ball and let him work, and he let that happen. He created a whole new scheme. He managed to scheme up against some of the greatest teams ever assembled, and if he can manage to win a championship this year as well, after everyone, even me, counting out the Pacers' first run against the Bucks, he could easily be in with a second ring, of course. He could be, a top 10 coach of all time, just based off, his playoff performances in the big spotlight. Going against the best teams and beating them down, David versus Goliath kind of style. I mean, he could be, talked about as one of the greatest playoff coaches of all time and one of the greatest coaches of all time. Not number 2, no top 5 coach, but top 10 for sure, in my opinion.
1000%. I can't agree more. I think if he could bring in a championship with that 2011 ring, the run that he's on this year, a lot of teams counting him out, a lot of people counting out the Pacers the way that they have this year, calling Tyrese Halliburton the most overrated player in the league, bringing him his first championship ring. Rick Carlisle could go crack that top 15, top 20 rank as an NBA coach all time. I really think so.
A lot of guys over here on the Pacers, but that's just only one side of the puzzle. The Thunder have a lot of big names that can benefit from winning it if they are able to, not blow this, as the Vegas odds makers are saying. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, of course, the big one that comes to mind. He, very similarly conversation to the one we had about Tyrese Halliburton, will have won an MVP. Most likely, if they win, will win MVP of the finals. That's not a guarantee, but it's the most likely option if the Thunder are going to win this. Does he enter those conversations? It's going to be a lot harder of a conversation. You're comparing it to KD and Westbrook. Does he enter the conversation as the greatest Thunder of all time? I know some people are already ready to crown him.
Oh, Mehrob, we got it.
When we're looking at it, I think he could get into that conversation. I think this is a similar situation to Reggie Miller and Tyrese in a way. KD's been around for a long time, and these are 2 guys in Tyrese Halliburton and SGA that are just getting started in the NBA. They're both just barely 20. SGA's 23, and Halliburton's around 24, 25. They're both just getting started right now. And these are both of their first NBA finals. And the fact that we're even talking about them in this light is crazy. When you look at SGA already winning the NBA Finals MVP, winning the regular season MVP, winning Western Conference Finals MVP, if he can find a way to win the finals and finals MVP, I think for sure it's pretty much undeniable that he's the best Thunder of all time, like player wise, accolades, talent across the board. I think he would surpass KD. But even right now, I think he's probably the only players I could think of that are higher than him. Even if we count the Supersonics where the Thunder are from, he's easily just maybe already at 4. The only 3 I can think of are Sean Kemp, KD, and Russell Westbrook at being higher than him. Then that's now without even winning a finals. So the fact that he's already in that stature, I think he can absolutely climb up the ranks, but he just needs to win a title. And this is the Thunder's opportunity to do so before the Western Conference gets even more stacked than it is already.
I mean, even if he manages to win a title, I still don't think he's the greatest Thunder player of all time. I still think KD is the greatest Thunder player of all time. I think he is just too good. I mean, if you're looking strictly just on ball at OKC and not career-wise, yeah, maybe, because he has the most accolades. But if you look at how good KD was without getting any, he won his MVPs, but not, he won, obviously James Harden got his MVPs as well. Ross has a few MVP or two. He's got one from Houston. But, like those 3 guys alone, those guys, I would take, honestly, in their primes, I'm thinking either of those 3 over SGA. And I feel like that's not, a ridiculous take. Those 3 were all so good at OKC. And if any of those 3 were in SGA's position right now, let's say James Harden, KD, or Russ were SGA right now, they would still be in the exact same spot because those 3 are just as good, even better than SGA. Yeah, if he manages to win the Finals MVP and Finals, he would be the best based off accolades. But player-wise, no. I mean, if you're looking at Supersonics too, you're already looking at Ray Allen. Obviously, you said Sean Kemp. I mean, Ray Allen was literally one of the greatest, probably the greatest Supersonic of all time. And, I mean, it's just, yeah, if you're looking at accolades alone, yeah, he'll win it. But player-wise, I still don't think he's even a top 5 Thunder player of all time.
Yeah, no, it's tough. It's for such a young franchise, even if we're just talking about the Thunder and excluding the Supersonics here, it's still a really, really tough list to crack. I think he's probably top 3 already. Winning an MVP shoots you way up there. He joins KD and Westbrook as the only other 2 guys to do that in this franchise. But still, those are 2 guys that are going to be a lot to pass. You talk about what he's done this season. This season, just single season, is one, especially if he's able to finish it off with a Finals MVP and a Finals. That's a top 10 season all time. What he's done just this year is insane, and I don't think people would be crazy for calling him the greatest Thunder of all time. I, for one, would like to see him, at least sign an extension before you crown him as that. But that's more semantics of the reason James Harden isn't in this conversation is because he left, right? Or he was traded away. If he had played his whole career there, or played a lot more of his career there, he'd be in this conversation, but he's not in this conversation for me because of that. So because of that, I'd like to wait for him to sign a Supermax before I say he's the greatest Thunder of all time, but I think that's really the only thing that's, in my mind, stopping him from being that, especially if he finishes out this incredible season with what he's already done. But outside of him, there was one more guy that I think can really benefit from winning on the Thunder side of thing, and that's the GM, Sam Presti over there. How he's built this team is going to be attempted to be replicated. It's not going to happen. This is a team that was built off of incredibly savvy moves. We talked about the Paul George trade a couple days ago that helped bring in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. His ability to stockpile picks and kind of know when it is the right time to move off of assets. And he hasn't really been wrong about just about anything, right? He moved off of Chris Paul, got a good amount back for him. You move off of Russell Westbrook, you get a good amount back for him right before his career kind of fizzles out, right? You get a lot back from all of your pieces. You never really lose too much, even when superstars go away. It is a hard line to walk, and it's even harder to draft like they have been able to do. People are going to try and replicate it, but if he wins another one, he shoots to the top of GMs, at least currently, in the NBA, I think. There's a discussion. There's a couple really good GMs, but this does wonders for him, and he's going to be enshrined in job security until he basically retires if they do finish this one off, in my opinion.
1000%. I think if Sam Presti can get that championship, this would be one of the best. This is a Thunder team that's basically been built from the ground up. And not only that, they have a haul of picks in the next 4 years so they can continue to not only build but sustain what they've already built. So I think they're gonna be competitive for a long time. I'm gonna do this one time. If I am Sam Presti, if they win the championship, this is the first thing that I'm doing. I'm getting a sticky note and I'm doing this to everybody in front of the camera. Thank you, LA. Because if it was not for the Los Angeles Clippers, these Oklahoma City Thunder would not be where they are today. That SGA deal is going to go down as one of the craziest trades in NBA history, and it's all thanks to Sam Presti and what he did to bring in a guy like SGA and what he saw in him from LA.
I'm not really sure if he made that trade with SGA because he saw what he saw. I just think he saw an extra guy being added, said, yeah, sure, why not? I think what he saw was those 5 first-round picks and said, yeah, give me who else you want, and we'll take them. But, SGA just happened to turn out to be a superstar. I mean, that's just luck of the draw. I mean, obviously, he was traded after his rookie year. So, there was obviously shine. There was obviously potential to see. Clippers didn't want him. They wanted to ship him off. And you know what? The Oklahoma City Thunder, they got lucky. I mean, that was honestly just a trade that happened to go right in the right direction for the OKC. They obviously have built him up for the. They basically built him up from the ground up. They have turned him in to what he is now. But him getting traded to from LA was the best thing that could have happened for his career. And obviously, Paul George leaving OKC was the best thing that could have happened for them because now SGA leaving LA is now he's blooming into one of the greatest current NBA players right now. And, Paul George leaving OKC obviously helped them acquire all these trades, helping acquire, all those first-round picks for the years to come. Because they have, 10 first-round picks the next 3 or 4 seasons? I mean, they could literally draft a whole new starting 5 in the next 4 or 5 seasons, which is honestly just kind of ridiculous. So they have infinite draft stock they can just trade away for other superstars. They can honestly go get Giannis if they wanted to. They can get rid of 4 first-round picks and go get Giannis right now. They don't have to, but they have so much leeway and so much power in the NBA right now, just based off draft picks alone that they have. They can create the greatest. They can create a super team, but they don't have to because they're already in the finals, so they don't need any more, superstars. But hey, they can go get some with their 50 million draft picks. Why not?
Absolutely. Those are the guys that I think benefit the most. So those are the guys that I was pointing to. Do you guys have any other people that you think might benefit incredibly, either side, Pacers or the Thunder, that you think a title, a new ring on their finger would do wonders for their career, their legacy?
I think across the board, the 3 guys those 3 guys in OKC right now, SGA, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren can cement their legacies as some of the great young players in the NBA if they can get a championship. And I think they've grown together really well over these especially over the conference finals that just happened between them and the Timberwolves. They stepped up in a big way. I think if they win a championship, they can really cement themselves as at least 15 to 20-year players in the NBA.
Yeah, no, because these guys are incredibly young. You're absolutely right about that. And I'll let you go here in a second, Nolan. But they get a championship now. They've won the West 2 years in a row. They're going to get paid whenever it's time for them to come up.
This one isn't really, no, it's going to cement his legacy. I would just love to see Alex Caruso get ring number 2. I think he was great with that Lakers team. I think it'd be seeing him kind of bloom into this phenomenal defender of a player. Even though he's always been a great defender with his time in Chicago, you saw that with his late years in LA, you saw that. But, seeing him, I think he really just deserves it. I mean, he's really just kind of this guy who's been around the league since, 2018, earlier than that. But, I mean, he's been around, and he got that ring in LA, that 2020 ring. No one calls that a legit ring, which I still think is kind of crazy to think about. But, he gets this ring number 2 as a very solid, 6th man off the bench, 7th man off the bench. I mean, that's going to be, he's not no Hall of Famer, but you can think of Alex Caruso as, part of this Thunder team and think, think of this 2025 Thunder team. If they win the NBA Finals and think, this wouldn't be possible without Alex Caruso locking down Nikola Jokic in Game 7 of the Western Conference semifinals. But, it'd just be kind of cool to see him get another ring. I think that'd be cool for his life. Just cool to see, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. But that is a lot of people that can really benefit from winning the finals here. Of course, there's a lot more. Everybody benefits from winning a finals. Everyone benefits in the organization, around the organization. But those are guys that I think really do stand out. Let me know in the comments if you guys think of anyone that we missed. Who do you think benefits the most from winning an NBA title this year? I'd love to hear your thoughts. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we turn our attention back to the world of football. Some more wide receiver news. Terry McLaurin unhappy with the Washington Commanders and the state of his contract negotiation, as well as another wide receiver up in Baltimore getting himself an extension. All that and more coming up next here on GSMC's Sports Podcast.